Hi, and welcome to The Social Angle, a podcast that helps promo pros gain an edge in the social media realm. I'm Vinnie, and today I'm joined by CJ Mittica, ASI Media's editor-in-chief, to talk about running contests on social media. CJ, welcome to the show.
It's so nice because we run our Promo Insiders podcast, and so it's nice now to be a guest on our other signature podcast on the ASI Media Network.
I know. I think that we should be utilizing those resources back and forth, and I'm glad you like that you're on the show finally. We get to talk about contests, social media, and
Yep.
specifically ASI Promo Insanity, which we're running this month. I'll get to that in a second. But do you know what today is? Today is an anniversary. 4 years ago, we did our very first Facebook Live. You remember that?
So I saw your post on Twitter, and I remember doing that video. I did not realize though it was our first Facebook Live.
That was ASI's very first Facebook Live. It was March 17th, 2017. My boss at the time, Andy Cohen, said, "Hey, look, I want you to start doing Facebook Lives." It was hot at the time. I didn't know what to do. And I was like, "What should I do?" He said, "I don't know. Do something." And I got together with you and John Corrigan, and we got a whole bunch of beers, different style beers.
Yeah.
We added green food coloring, and we made green beer. And we definitely drank the beer, because I remember I was a bit tipsy after that. But we had a really good time, and that I figured I'd bring it up because today is March 17th, 2021. I'm wearing green. Looks like you're wearing green.
Yeah,
CJ,
I
all
got
right.
my Graham's Pub T-shirt on. See that? Yep. So
Nice.
I'm
Well,
representing.
well done. So we have a great topic today. We're talking about contests and social media. So it's relevant because we are running the ASI Promo Insanity contest, which was really your brainchild. Can you tell us a little bit more about the idea behind it?
Now, I don't get all the credit, Vinny, or all the blame because you and I worked on this together. But to give some background, we have run ASI. We've run product driven contests in the past, but we actually haven't done one in a couple years. But we've also done fun videos, like we did a product video contest a few years ago, where readers voted on their favorite videos from suppliers and distributors. So I've always had it in my mind, at least the past couple of years, to just have a fun contest where the products are the focus, because this is such a product driven industry. And we talked as a staff, and you and I talked about what would be something fun and something cool. And we thought, well, how about we do something in the vein of March Madness, of a bracket style contest, and we put the products first and foremost. And we thought, well, it would be really fun to say, what once and for all, what are people's favorite products? Because everybody talks about, oh, I love T-shirts, I love water bottles, I love I love hats, I love backpacks. So I thought it'd be really fun to put that to the test, get some fun engagement, and have people vote on those actual products in different matchups.
So originally we started with 32 products or
Yeah,
product categories,
yeah.
and we cut it down to 16. Can you talk a little bit about why we did that?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the NCAA tournament is 64. That's always sort of been like the gold standard of like of brackets, and that's a big number. A lot of different matchups. We originally thought about 32, just because there's so many products in this industry. If you look at our ESP top 100 rankings, that's 100 different products that are very popular and get a lot of searches. So even at 32, I was still making, I guess, difficult cuts, that products that weren't going to be featured in the contest. But I thought 32 would be a fun number. It would be an involved contest. I love convoluted, like more involved contests where you really get to vote and dig into it. But I know, talking to our staffers, talking to Kathleen, who's our web designer guru, she made a couple of good points. One, sort of the commitment. Obviously, doing 16 instead of 32, it's a more manageable number just for people to vote on in a given instance. So in the first round, for example, people were voting on, I think it was eight matchups versus 16. So that's a
Right.
big difference. The other thing is, from a design standpoint, if you look at brackets that are presented online, especially like 64, let's say 64 team or 64 entry brackets, they're very hard to read, because you can only pack so much information. You can't do as many creative things from a design perspective. So if you take a look at the page, which is asicentral.com/promoinsanity, Kathleen did an amazing job designing it. It looks great, but to get that level of detail and that creativity, we had to narrow down the number of categories.
Yeah. So how do we determine the 16 seeds? I know that there have been some questions in social media about
Mhm.
how PPE and masks became the #1 seed, and how could you have food gifts at number 15? So there were some questions. So why don't you kind of explain that today?
Don't blame me. Blame 2020. Blame the coronavirus. So yeah, it's a good question, right? How can we rank these in some sort of organized or logical fashion? We could just say like t-shirts are the most popular product, and maybe we could have done it that way. But that would be sort of, I guess, kind of arbitrary, because we don't have it that's in terms of like popularity, right? That's why we're having this contest, to sort of figure that out from a sort of anecdotal, emotional perspective. So we looked at it from a statistical perspective. We just did our ESP 100 rankings. That's how many, that shows the searches that different products get in ESP. And so we figured that that's a good system, because that shows what demand is. And as it so happens, masks were the #1 product last year in 2020. So yeah, that's an anomaly, right? But
Sure.
we'd have to deal with the reality of the world we're living in. So we use those ESP rankings to seed our brackets.
Okay, so I mean that makes total sense. Because I think people were looking at products historically and saying, "Hey, how could pens not be #1?" Pens historically are one of the #1 searched products. I don't know where they ended up in the seedings, but
Mm-hmm.
PPE and masks were #1, and people were like, "What? What are you talking about? And how could food gifts be 15 and pet products be 16?" And so there was some, obviously some people asking about the seedings, but that's a good place to start. You look at 2020 performance, and that way we have verifiable data to back up those seedings. So let's talk a little bit about the name. The obvious name here, and we kind of spitballed back and forth
Yeah.
about how should we name this contest. And March Madness, based on NCAA's March Madness, seemed like the perfect fit.
It was perfect. It was perfect. It was the obvious choice.
Right. So why did we not go with Merch Madness?
Because our lawyer advised us not to. But no, it's a good question, right? So as we were planning this, I talked with Chuck Michon, who's our in-house legal counsel, and he advised against us using Merch Madness or any term with madness in it, because those are trademarked phrases by the NCAA. They trademarked March Madness, or the Final Four, or other related terms. So we could have gone ahead and used Merch Madness as the name, but in doing so, we opened ourselves up to legal action by the NCAA, and they definitely pursued it with other instances in the past, other companies or entities treading on similar names. And no guarantee. I mean, they may just leave us alone because we're just promo products. There's no guarantee that they would try to sue us. But it's better to be safe than sorry. For example, IGN, they're a very popular video game, like movie pop culture website. They're having a contest right now this month on superhero movies, and so they called their contest Super Movie Madness. So because superhero is a trademark term, March Madness is a trademark term. So they ended up using madness in their contest, and maybe they'll get away with it. But for us, it's like it wasn't worth the risk, and so that's how we settled upon Promo Insanity.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, and for any company that is looking to go into some sort of contest that's based on something bigger, like we're talking about March Madness,
Mm-hmm.
NCAA trademarked names. If you're going to riff off of that and try to be clever and try to be very similar, you could run into a situation. Now, you mentioned that it's likely, in our industry, a big name like the NCAA is not going to come after us. But what happens if they do? You are now risking the contest, and also, all the promotion around it. You've created imagery, you've promoted it, and now all of a sudden you've got to kind of change gears, like right in the middle, and that can be problematic.
Yeah, it is no different from the list that we keep. So ASI keeps a list of brand names that can't be like put on samples, because there's potential of legal action. So it's a totally similar thing. You have to know, I guess, where to pick your battles when it comes to things like use of brand names or similar names.
Right, and I think this is a very important part of this podcast, is that we're talking contests and we're talking about social media and using it in your promotional campaigns. And there's a legal aspect here that you have to be very careful of. Now, CJ, I asked you about Promo Insanity. Now you have a few questions for me from the legal standpoint for social media.
Yeah, well, so when we conceived of the contest, one of the questions we had is, well, how should we run it? How should we what should be the portal in which people vote through? Historically, we've done it through the ASI Central, through our website, and I know this time we talked about potentially doing it on social media. We ended up not doing that. We ended up sticking with ASI Central. But like when you looked at it in terms of using social media sort of as the contest hub, what did you find out, and why did you ultimately decide not to use our social media pages?
It's a great question. I think it's one that everyone should certainly investigate if you're going to run contests off of your social media. Now, 10 years ago, I'm gonna do a little bit of a history. 10 years
Sure.
ago, it was very, very difficult to run contests off of social media. And when I say that, I'm talking about actually using social media and the features available on those platforms to determine winners. So in other words, if you ask people to engage, comment, and you're going to do a random drawing, or the first person who responds with the correct answer gets $25, and somebody responds, and then somebody after them responds, and that person, the first person, doesn't get the spoils, right? They give it to the second person. All of a sudden there's a dispute, and Facebook is in the middle of it. So any social media platform historically does not want to be anywhere near a contest that is offering spoils. They want to make sure that they are exonerated from any of that. So historically, Facebook has said absolutely no kind of contest, no promotions. They've eased their restrictions, so you can run contests and promotions off of all social media platforms. You just have to make sure you research it. Go into like just Google like Facebook terms and conditions for a contest, and you will see that Facebook is very strict about, hey, look, you have to make sure that your followers know that this is not sponsored by the actual platform. This is sponsored by you. You have to come up with some terms and conditions. So to me, it seemed like it was a lot more of a hassle to have to create all of that legalese, promote it on our social media platforms, and then sort of monitor and mine the social media platforms for whatever metric you're looking to determine, how you are, going to figure out who wins a contest. It's arduous. It's a lot of work. We have 4 rounds. We have 16 promotional product categories. If we ran it off of our Facebook page, it would have been a lot of maintenance. So what we're doing, instead of using our social media platforms as the place where winners are determined, we're using it more as a promotional vehicle. So that's really kind of what you need to do if you're planning to do something like a contest on your social media. Just research each individual network. Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, they all have legalese tied around running contests on those pages.
So you mentioned all those platforms. Is there one particular platform that's either severely restrictive or maybe one that's best suited for running a contest?
I think it really determines, or your user base really determines that. So if you're somebody who has a lot of followers in a specific network, I would run it to wherever your users are. But if you're just thinking across the board, if it's an even playing field, I've always said that Facebook is a good platform to run contests against. Look, there are billions of people on Facebook. A lot of them are bots, but that's just my opinion. But for sure, Facebook is a good place to start. Instagram also was really good. The only problem with Instagram is you can't drive traffic to your website because you can't put links in your in your grams. You can actually put the links at the top of the page, and you can instruct people to find the link at the top of the page. But that kind of gets look, I would avoid Instagram if I'm going to run a contest. That's just me. Facebook, I would say, is probably your best bet.
What about Clubhouse? We could have like a sort of Masked Singer type thing where you don't see who's singing. I like that idea.
I like that idea a lot. It's Clubhouse is just audio, and like, hey, I can get on there and I can start singing, and no one would be the wiser. I scare a lot of people off. So yeah, so that's what I would do. Contests are very, you have to do your homework on contests. It's not, there's no one magic bullet. We have done this before. We've done contests, and we drive traffic to our website. And the voting mechanism, for instance, for ASI Promo Insanity, is on the actual website. So we embed, we actually use, I forget the voting tool that we use, but anyway, we embed polls for each of those contests. So you just go to our page, and it's like, hey, this is t-shirts versus whatever. You just click on who you think is the better promotional product. You hit vote, and boom, it gives you the update, like who's winning. So it's really effective. I think that would be the way to go, because you can actually control. It's a controlled environment, and then when we cut off voting, we just turn off the polls, and boom, like there's no dispute. Like, hey, we said to stop this at 12. On a Facebook page, people continue to vote. Then the numbers get kind of weird, and it's like you can kind of fall into some issues there.
Yeah. So, what would be some that ideas or examples, whether from our current Promo Insanity contest or other contests that we promoted, as far as using social media to drive that traffic and promote that contest?
Can you give me a little more detail on that question? Say that again.
So, like how can people best use social media to promote a contest or drive traffic to the contest page?
Well, I think that one of the best things to do is, like, when you're going to do a contest, I think you should always, you can't just knee jerk it. Like, oh, it's like, let's do a contest tomorrow. Like, you have to really conceive it, come up with an idea, and then I think promotion is really important. Like, look to start promoting something a week ahead. Involve all your marketing materials. Push it on your website, push it on all your social media platforms. Email blasts, newsletters. Get people excited about something, and make it fun. Like, I can't stress enough, if you're going to do a contest, make it fun. We've done in the past, we've done best product video contests in a similar fashion with the brackets, and every single one of those product videos, especially the ones that did really well, they're fun. It's like, if you're going to involve social media, you're going to involve video, you're going to involve some type of contest, like, make it fun, make it something that people are interested in, and they want to see the outcome, and you're going to stick with it through.
Yeah, especially with our contests and our industry, it's a fun industry. The contests that we're doing, they're rewarding people's creativity, whether that's the products they create in design, videos, promotional campaigns. It's all supposed to be fun. So I agree, like, play up that aspect.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit about ASI Promo Insanity. It's been going on. This is our third week. This is the semifinals.
Yep.
So give me your take on some of the big upsets so far. What are your thoughts so far about the contest?
Look, I've been really surprised because it's not, first of all, it has not gone according to seed at all. Like, the products that get the most searches, those are not in those products are not in the semifinals. Like, writing instruments, which is number 2 and arguably number 1 in a non-pandemic year, didn't make it past the second round. They lost to jackets and sweatshirts, which is a popular product, but doesn't have the same sort of total sales and searches that writing instruments get. Mass lost. They were our number 1 seed, but that's not a surprise. Mass lost to t-shirts, and we had speculated that they would lose in the first round because people don't love Mass the way they love other products. You had predicted pet products to be in the finals because people love it, and it ended up losing to Mass. But Mass don't have the same sort of sort of that emotional attachment, I would say, that other products do, for sure.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because the number one seed PPE and masks, certainly I think going into the first round, they were up against pet products. You know, even though they were the number one seed, I felt that they were a huge underdog in that matchup. And
Yeah.
in fact, I took pet products. We actually did brackets. A couple people at ASI did some
Yep.
brackets. I have pet products. And look, just like, you know, reality in the NCAA, my bracket gets busted in the first round. For some reason, I don't know why. I always kind of lose like a top dog. And I lost my eventual winner, pet products, in the first round because I was convinced that, like you said, there's not an emotional attachment to PPE. It seems like, you know, it was a necessity in 2020. It's the number one seed. It's going against pet products, beloved pet products, and pet products lost. I was shocked. I was like, who is voting for PPE and masks? You know, and they won convincingly. So,
Yeah.
so my winner eventually, you know, in that first round lost. But also food gifts. Food gifts was a 15 seed.
Yep.
Who did they play in the first round? Who was the 2
So
seed?
they were against Reading Instruments, and I had the same thing. I actually predicted Food Gifts to win them all, win it all, and that, yes, that was sort of a slightly unusual pick, but I had sort of the same thinking. Like, people love food, and going up against Reading Instruments, for example, like I know people like who really like pens, but I would say on the whole, a pen doesn't engender the same sort of reaction that getting a food gift did. So that was sort of my reasoning. It was a close matchup. Reading Instruments won, but yeah, so it was interesting to see how some of the things we thought that had that sort of instant emotional reaction didn't advance. But as we go along, like there's been more surprising results. Like, if you look at our semifinals voting right now, it's t-shirts versus hats. Hats are winning. Like, I'm beyond shocked because I felt that t-shirts were the strongest product category throughout this contest, and they were definitely going to make the finals, if not win. Hats are a popular product, yes, but you know, if you like, hats are more popular. Typically, hats are more popular with men than women. Not saying that women don't love hats. Like, my wife loves, you know, baseball caps. She has a bunch of them. But if you're looking at sort of like cross appeal, t-shirts have that over hats. So again, I'm shocked that t-shirts are losing in hats in the semifinals matchup.
I agree. You know, like the final four is hats versus t-shirts, and tumblers and water bottles versus
Jackets and sweatshirts.
jackets and sweatshirts. So I was convinced, okay, t-shirts made it to the final four. T-shirts are going to run the table. And
Yep.
right now, hats are convincingly beating t-shirts. We have about 48 hours left in the semifinals, and barring like a huge comeback by t-shirts, hats are making it to the finals. I mean they're performing really well. We have hundreds of votes so far, and people are voting for hats. I'm shocked as well. Now the other semifinal matchup is razor thin. I
Yep.
think when I checked this morning, it was like 49% to 51%
Yeah,
in
I just checked in, and water bottles have opened up a slight lead. They're up to like 53% of like 4 to 47.
Yeah, so I mean that is so close. You can't call it right now. So who do you have going to the finals?
Well, you know, when this round started, I predicted it would be t-shirts and water bottles.
Me too. Yep.
And you know, again, water bottles are a very strong category. So if they beat jackets and sweatshirts, I would think that they would beat hats, if that were the finals matchup, the championship round. But I like, all my beliefs have been thrown out the window as this contest has gone on.
Totally. And I think right now you gotta look at the performance during the semifinal right now of hats and say hats is probably the favorite right now to win it all. You know, again, I'm like you. Before this round started, it was all about t-shirts. I said t-shirts are gonna win it. It's not even gonna be close. And boom, hats are just killing it. But you know, I'm gonna go with water bottles to take it all. Based on the performance thus far through semifinals, I think water bottles are gonna sneak it out, and then they're going to, because everything points to hats running the table. But no, I think in the finals, all of a sudden, you know, water bottles and tumblers are gonna really come to play, and they're going to win. So that I'm putting it out there. And you said which one?
Yeah, so my prediction is water bottles, but it's like every time I make the Super Bowl prediction, I'm like, oh, this is the better team. I'm going to put my money on the other team because I'm inevitably wrong.
Right, right. Well, anyway, this has been a great conversation. So again, contest is, if you're running a contest off of your social media platforms, certainly research each platform. They have information about what you can do, what you can't do. Certainly, and if you want to drive traffic to your website, and you have something that you want to do similar to us, you can always reach out to us and ask us questions. You can reach me on Twitter at ASI Central. And CJ, what is your handle?
So it's CJ_ASI editor.
Do you have any final thoughts here on running a contest?
Look, contests are a hassle, but they're a lot of fun. Once you've done the legwork to get them set up, it's really fun to see what the results are because they can be surprising. Or if you're having a submission based contest, just to see the creativity that results from it. And it's just such a great way to create engagement, get readers involved, and just have fun. So I would say just look for opportunities to do it in the future.
Yeah, and look, if you want to drive traffic to your website, you certainly do that. You can open up awareness on your social media. It's a win-win. It's all about making your brand fun. Enjoying yourself along the line. Pushing your social media. And look, we've got a lot of people engaged. We're giving out gift cards for people who are engaged on our social media platforms, and that to me is like, you keep people interested, you give them a little bit of reward, and people are commenting. They love this contest, and they're engaged, and they're interested. We could tell by the votes. People are voting each round, and it's been a really great contest for us.
Yep, and be sure to vote asicentral.com/promo insanity.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.